Dory, are we ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Calling to order the Tuesday, March 31st, 2020 rescheduled regular meeting of the 38th Council of the City of Berkeley. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dean?
Here.
Councilmember Gavin?
Here.
Councilmember Hennon?
Here.
Councilmember Price?
Here.
Mayor Turbrack?
Here. Our first order of business this evening is the emergency meeting procedures. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 1?
Explanation of COVID-19 updates pertaining to public meetings.
We're going to take a couple of minutes to talk about how we got here, how this meeting is going to proceed. Mr. Sterin, would you like to hop in here and give us all an update on what we are able to do and what we are not going to be doing during these virtual meetings? If we can unmute you first. There you go.
There. Now am I unmuted?
Yes.
There we go. Sorry about that. Getting used to this. The Open Meetings Act still applies in full force, except to the extent that the governor's Executive Order 2020-15 does relax it to the relaxes OMA requirements to the limited extent of allowing us during this state of emergency to have these remote electronic participation meetings. They're subject to a number of rules, all of which we've tried to adhere to tonight, both in terms of notice as well as the interactivity as we see people popping in and out of our screens and so on. So for that reason, we have put on as the first item of business tonight the request to temporarily suspend our normal council rules of procedure for the limited purpose of compliance with the governor's Order 2020-15 as well as the stay home order.
All right, thank you. And we will talk a little bit more about what that means when we get to our next item. So Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 2 on our agenda?
Motion number M1120, matter of considering suspension of the City Council rules of procedure to the extent they require or imply that council meetings be conducted as an in-person meeting at City Hall and allow citizen comments to be made throughout the meeting in order to permit the meeting to be conducted as an electronic remote participation meeting in accordance with the Governor's Executive Orders 2020-15 and 2020-21. The suspension of the council rules in this regard shall be for the duration of those executive orders and any extension thereof.
Is there a motion to approve M1120?
So moved.
Support.
So moved by, I'm thinking that was Steve, Councilmember Baker, and support from Councilmember Hennon. The language of the motion is pretty evident and clear, but Mr. Baumgarten, Mr. Sterin, anything to add that we haven't previously covered or that is not covered in that motion?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to just note, as it states in the motion itself, is just want to call attention to the fact that this is not an attempt to diminish public comment at all, just to provide a orderly process for including it all in this strange circumstance we find ourselves in.
Yeah, and I think it's obvious as we're all staring at our computer screens that it's a little different format than an in-person meeting at City Hall. For the most part, the meeting will be conducted, other than how it appears visually, in the same manner as any other public meeting, subject to the same rules, Open Meeting Act requirements, and so on. One modification that I'm sure the mayor will address is out of necessity, since we can't see or hear everybody who's out there in cyberspace or wherever you're watching from. It looks like Steve Baker is in cyberspace from his background, but there we will be handling, as I understand, we will be handling public comments a little bit differently. There'll be a session in the front and in the back, but it's just not practical to be having the back and forth dialogue between the public and the council members throughout the meeting when we are doing this virtual format.
Thank you, Mr. Sterin and Mr. Baumgart, for clarifying that. Again, we are attempting to be able to keep things as normal as possible, to conduct business that is essential to the city. The goal of these virtual meetings is not to try to discuss things that are really not essential at this point. We need to make sure we're taking care of the things that we are able to legally, and keeping those things off. But as Mr. Sterin mentioned, Mr. Baumgart, the intent is to still allow as much public participation as possible, while also realizing that we have some practical difficulties in conducting a meeting virtually with so many different folks being a part of this. Any council members have additional comments before we call for a roll on this? Scanning, I'm seeing some shaking heads. No. Anybody else? Okay. Well, not hearing anybody else chiming in or raising their hand on the participants. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M1120?
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. The next item on our agenda is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support from Councilmember Blanchard. Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on our agenda?
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. The next item is the pledge. So if you would please look at the flag that is going to be displayed on the screen and stand in just a moment. We've already got a little hiccup, so if it doesn't, just find the flag closest to you, and we will stand and recite the pledge. We go up here. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Okay. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are back, and again, we're already seeing a little bit of difficulty when we all try to talk at the same time. I was getting a significant delay, as I'm sure some of you may have been as well, which is why I slowed down there. Next item on our agenda is public comments. As we have previously addressed, there are going to be two separate sections for public comments. This is the first. This is for items that are included on tonight's agenda. There will be a public comment section at the end of the meeting for items that are not included or were not covered on tonight's agenda. Again, same rules as normal public comments apply. Present your thoughts on issues that, of course, are included on our agenda. Council members will not engage you in discussion, but if your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or department of the city, please send an email to the city clerk, and we will make sure that somebody gets back to you. If you'd like to comment, please raise your hand. I believe Tori's going to help run this. Raise your hand on either the participant screen or in person, and you will be addressed when It's your turn.
Okay, so sorry for jumping screens, everyone. We're having some technical difficulties with my computer. So I'm with Stan right now. But so far, the first hand that I see raised is Wendy. Wendy, if you could just state your name and place of residency, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Once that 3 minutes is up, I will mute you, okay?
Okay, hi, my name's Wendy, Berkley resident. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of you on how you're handling the transparency of what's going on. It's appreciative of reading the things on the Berkley pages. A concern I have is with essential work only to be done, we have builders around here who are working daily. And they're homes that are being, well, one is a remod, one is a new home. And I would believe that is not essential. And I guess I just want your opinion on that and what I'm to do. Shall I call the police? Shall I call City Hall? That's all I got.
Thank you, Wendy. We will make sure that somebody reaches out to you.
Okay, I am looking through the feed, Mayor Dan, and I don't see any other people's hands raised at this time, not even in the video feed. So I believe that's it for the first round of public comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. And again, I apologize if somehow we miss anybody with this, but again, we will have another opportunity at the end for additional public comments. But seeing no more comments at this time, we will move away from public comments and we'll move to our order of business this evening. First, with our consent agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
Number 1, approval of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the 38th City Council meeting on Monday, February 3rd, 2020, and the special meeting on Monday, March 9th, 2020. Number 2, warrant. Matter of approving warrant number 1347 and warrant number 1348. Number 3, ordinance number 0320. Matter of considering the second reading and adoption of zoning ordinance of the City of Berkley, Michigan to amend sections 138-584, 138-605, 138-625, 138-656, and add new section 138-552 to Chapter 138 zoning to establish requirements for public hearing notices. Number 4, ordinance number 0520. Matter of considering the second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the City of Berkley, Michigan to add Division 1, Attendance and Training, to Article 5 of Chapter 2, Administration of the City of Berkley Code of Ordinances, and to amend City Code Sections 2-273, 66-21, 88-36, and 90-20, to adopt minimum attendance and training requirements and to modify removal from office procedures for appointed boards and commissions. Number 5, ordinance number 0620, matter of considering the second reading and adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan to conditionally rezone property described as Lot 425 of the Vincetta Park subdivision from RM multiple family residential to parking district. Number 6, ordinance number 0720, matter of considering the second reading and adoption of an ordinance to add new Article 3, unsolicited written materials, to Chapter 6, advertising of the City of Berkley Code of Ordinances to regulate the leaving or placement of unsolicited written materials on private property.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Appears as a motion was made by Councilmember Price with support from Councilmember Baker. I am going with whoever the yellow screen hits first. Discussion on our consent agenda. I see most heads nodding. Again, these are things that we've talked about and were going to be on a previous agenda. We had to postpone that meeting until today. Seeing no additional comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on tonight's consent agenda?
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Tonight's consent agenda has passed. We now move on to our regular agenda. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 1 on tonight's regular agenda?
Resolution number R320, matter of confirming and continuing the local state of emergency declared by Mayor Daniel Turbrack on the 16th day of March 2020.
Is there a motion to approve R0320?
Motion
So
to
moved.
approve.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Blanchard with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Mr. Baumgarten?
Mr. Mayor, per our ordinance and per our emergency operations plan, the mayor's power falls to him to declare the state of emergency. However, the city council needs to either affirm or terminate that order based on their next meeting. And so that comes us to today. There's been a resolution supplied to city council that would, in this case, affirm that state of emergency and keep it going this time. So as you probably can imagine, Councilmember Blanchard has had a big hand in helping us guide us through our emergency operations plan. And between himself and City Attorney John Sterin, we bring the resolution before you.
Mr. Attorney, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think the city manager said it very well. This is a necessary step under the Emergency Management Act, our charter, and our ordinance. So it's appropriate if the local state of emergency is to continue, that the city council consent and concur with that this evening.
Okay. I want to add as Mr. Baumgarten mentioned, certainly Mr. Sterin, Councilmember Blanchard, and also our chief, Matt Kane, were instrumental in helping to get us to this point. Councilmember Blanchard, anything else that you would like to add, being so involved in this process to this point?
Just that this is a requirement of Public Act 390 of 1976, which we follow with all of our operations plans. So we're just conforming with what we have to get done to make sure the state of emergency stays in place.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions or comments from council who disagrees with my declaration there? Okay. Oh, you guys are extra obedient virtually. I like it. Thank you. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on R0320?
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 2 on tonight's agenda?
Resolution number R420, matter of recognizing that the city's designated official newspaper, the Woodward Talk, has ceased publication, and that therefore, until further notice, the city hereby designates the Royal Oak Tribune, the Open Press, as the city's official newspaper, effective immediately, for the publication of the city's notices, ordinances, and other pertinent items.
Is there a motion to approve R0420?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Price with support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten, again, this is pretty much spelled out in the resolution, the situation again that we find ourselves in. Anything additionally to add?
No, sir. Mark, a very good resolution. It's self-explanatory, and I think the city clerk did a very good job of laying it out.
Additional comments from council members? Again, the situation we find ourselves in, we have to be able to continue publishing our notices. We certainly cannot do that through the Woodward Talk right now. And we have to find other alternatives, and we'll be using the Tribune and the Open Press. Seeing no additional comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on R0420?
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennan,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 3 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M1220, matter of considering the appointment of Jennifer Finney as Executive Director of the Downtown Development Authority.
Is there a motion to approve M1220?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are joined by Jennifer as well as several members of our Downtown Development Authority Board of Trustees here this evening. Just a couple of quick process notes. We went through a very robust application process. The organizational committee for the DDA actually went through and narrowed down those applications. Those additional 6, I think, were then recommended to an interviewing committee. The interviewing committee did its duty as well, made a recommendation that Jennifer be appointed to the DDA position, the DDA Executive Director. Then that recommendation went in front of the full Board of Trustees, who likewise voted in the affirmative to have Jennifer assume that role. And per the state statute, that now also needs to be affirmed by the local governing body, which in our case is the City Council. So that's kind of how we got to this point this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. And again, we talked about, making sure that we are dealing with essential items today, and having Jennifer on the agenda was certainly something that we deemed as very important as it relates to continuing to work with our downtown businesses right now, especially during these uncertain times. She has already been extremely involved and instrumental in helping to coordinate, passing information back and forth, and it's certainly something that is important enough to be on our agenda this evening, and that's why it's here. Additional comments from council members. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to add as the liaison to the DDA that Jennifer has been a fantastic volunteer and board member for several years, and most recently, to your point, Mr. Mayor, she's demonstrated tremendous leadership and initiative in providing communications out to the DDA region so that folks understood what was going on and what resources were available to help them with their businesses in these definitely trying times for our small businesses. So it's great to see Ms. Finney before us here tonight for consideration, and I certainly welcome her into this leadership role to lead the downtown into the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments from our council members. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to say that I have been working with her electronically on a lot of actions since this started, and she's been very eager to get things done and very helpful, and I greatly appreciate what she's done, and I think she'll be a great asset to the DDA.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I also want to say that I had the pleasure of working with Ms. Finney when I was on the DDA, and I think that certainly as a resident with a good working knowledge of the city and DDA matters and the structure, that she's an excellent choice for executive director. And I do believe that Jen will think, creatively to continue to enhance our downtown, and will be a tireless advocate for small businesses that has been mentioned. Certainly, no doubt in need in these uncertain times. So, thank you very much, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Yes, thank you. As a small business owner in Berkley, I just want to commend you, Jennifer, for jumping in right away, given the current situation. I've really been pleased to see the emails that are coming from you, from the DDA, outlining resources for small business owners during this time. And I look forward to being on the other side of this with you and seeing all the events and activities that Berkley knows and loves, along with some new ones coming along. So I'm very optimistic for the future of our downtown in terms of growth and development with you at the helm. So welcome.
Thank you. Any other council members' comments? Okay, seeing none. Well, Jennifer, thank you for being with us this evening, certainly, and for everything that we've mentioned already. Getting so involved. It's no secret that there had been, for whatever reason, a lack of communication. And the city and the DDA certainly need to be working together on everything as much as possible. And I know that that is certainly the intent of the DDA, and you taking the leadership role as the director is certainly going to help strengthen that. And I, we will certainly be working. I certainly look forward to working with you. And, it's unfortunate that you're coming in at this point in time. Right now, it's certainly not what any of us planned, but nonetheless, you are certainly going to be vital to helping our businesses, especially in the downtown area, continue to thrive once we come out of the other side. It's going to be a tremendous opportunity for all of us. So welcome, thank you, and this is kind of illegal, is it, Tori? Am I allowed to ask her if she wants to say anything? Can that happen?
Yes, that can happen.
All right, Jennifer, you're here. Anything you'd like to add, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I dialed in by phone, so I just wanted to make sure. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be on your agenda. I know it's just essential items, so I feel honored that I was able to make this agenda and to be in front of you all tonight. Like some of the other council members have said, I volunteered for the DDA for the last several years. I live in Berkley. I'm so passionate about Berkley. I love the DDA. I love the downtown, and I'm really looking forward to serving the different business owners, property owners, residents, and everyone to come into the city. And even though, it's unfortunate timing right now, I know that we will see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm looking forward to supporting all of businesses now and in the future.
Thank you, Jennifer. We look towards that certainly as well. Any additional comments? Seeing none. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M1220?
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes, and before we leave this, I do want to thank the other DDA board members that are with us this evening in support of Jennifer as well. And unfortunately, the way that we're running the meetings doesn't allow for everybody to get up and talk, but we see you and your support is certainly noted, and I want to make sure that we have that on record as well. So thank you all for attending tonight. All right, Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 4 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M1320, matter of authorizing the purchase of a 2020 tandem axle dump truck with bodies at a total cost of $317,513 from Wolverine Freightliner and Truck and Trailer Specialties, Inc., utilizing the Minton Cooperative Bid Contract from account number 101-441-985-000.
Is there a motion to approve M1320?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support from Mayor Pro Tem Dean. Mr. Baumgart, do you want to handle this before we throw it over to Mr. Schuler?
We just want to make a couple notes on process. In your packet is the results of the cooperative bid up to this point, as well as a memo from the DPW Director, Derek Schuler, outlining the reasoning behind this, as well as giving some information, noting specifically that this was a budgeted item. This is not an item that is you're having to fill a hole with. This is something that we did plan, and this is part of our overall strategy of replacing our single-use vehicles with these multiple-use hook truck approach. So that's the only thing I have to add until Mr. Schuler takes over.
Mr. Schuler, you're on.
Thank you, and good evening. So before you tonight is our next hook truck purchase, and this is through the Minton Cooperative Bid. And this unit will replace a 1998 Chevrolet dump truck that is currently in our fleet. So again, this is our third full-size hook truck purchase that we're looking to make. And as the city manager alluded to, these vehicles are able to perform a variety of duties. So the benefit here is that in the long run, we're going to be able to reduce the number of fleet vehicles that we have, because the winter maintenance vehicles, the salting and plowing vehicles sit in the garage most of the year, and we want to change that. So we're looking forward to purchasing a few of these hook trucks so that we can put them to use year round. So again, this was through the Mitten cooperative bid, and we're recommending this purchase through the different manufacturers. And again, this will be our third hook truck. I do want to point out these vehicles take a long time to build, and they take approximately 1 year to build in full. So we're waiting on delivery of our second unit, which we're hoping to get any time now. We do have one in the fleet now. And obviously, if approved, this one will come in approximately 1 year. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Blanchard, are we happy with those specs?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I reviewed the specs, all 26 pages of them. That's a lot of stuff, Derek. But yes, the specs look good. No real comment. They did a good job putting this one together.
Excellent. Additional questions from council members? Councilmember Baker, I see you. There you go.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Schuler, thank you for explaining the process and bringing this before us here tonight. And you mentioned this is the second in a series of these vehicles, and we already have one of them in the fleet. Is there anything particular about this one that would require different training or prep time for the operators, the folks using this vehicle when we do receive it? Will they need any special kind of training or anything? Or is this consistent with the earlier new vehicles and it's just a second one added to the fleet here?
Yes, council member, and I want to point out it's actually the third. This is going to be our third vehicle, full-size hook truck. So this is number 3. We only have one in our possession. We're expecting number 2 any day now. Right. But as far as training goes, this was exactly the same as the other vehicles that we have, Councilman. So the training that we've already partaked in with the vehicle that we have on hand, the crew is already getting used to that vehicle. We may have a little bit more training as we get more and more folks exposed to it, but it's going to be the same process, same procedure.
Excellent. Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions from council members? I apologize, it always looks like I'm not looking at anybody, but I'm looking at the screen to see if anybody's raising their hand, and it does not appear so. Seeing no additional questions or comments, thank you, Derek, for being here to explain that and to answer any questions. I thought I heard somebody. No? Okay. Seeing no additional comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M1320?
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 5 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M1420, matter of authorizing the purchase of a lateral launch sewer camera system at a total cost of $83,974.55 from the sole source vendor of the Rapid View IBAK equipment, Jack Donahue Companies, utilizing the NGPA Sourcewell Cooperative Bid Contract from account number 592-536-982-592.
Is there a motion to approve M1420?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard, support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten, anything before we go back to Mr. Schuler?
Just note, sir, that your packet does include a memo from Mr. Schuler, as well as the documentation on how we arrived at that particular price, and the information provided from Sourcewell as far as the specs and a little bit of indication on how we intend to use this device.
Mr. Schuler.
Thank you again. So this is a budgeted item, lateral launch camera for our sewer system. And what this is to augment our existing sewer camera and its capabilities. This specific camera will allow us to get into smaller lines and be able to investigate sewers for smaller lines than our current tractor and camera can get into. So for instance, the lines between the catch basins and the mainline sewers tend to be smaller lines, and this one will be able to launch into those small lines so that we can view what's going on in there. So this is to augment our existing capabilities with the camera system that will allow us to get into those smaller lines. Again, it is through a cooperative bid. Obviously, we're looking to buy the same manufacturer line of the camera system that we currently own, which is the IBAC system. So this would be in addition to our camera system and allow us to do some of those investigations, because in the long run, this will save us money, because we're going to be able to investigate things as opposed to digging things up, and hopefully be able to resolve them before digging up the road and then getting into costly pavement repairs. So it's something we've been planning for a few years, so we're excited to get it. We've been trialing it and for a while, and now we're at the point where we're ready to make a purchase. So I know it's a new piece of equipment, and I'm happy to answer any questions from council.
Thank you. Questions for our director? Mayor Pro Tem Dean. You are on mute.
How about that?
Better.
Good.
Perfect.
Mr. Schuler, thank you for doing your due diligence. You're always very careful with procurement. So there's no doubt in my mind that this is not only a necessary item, but that you've, dotted all your I's and crossed your T's. My question is, does this also have GIS capabilities with the software? It's working with all the other components?
That is correct. So this will work with our existing GIS system. So we'll be able to bring those videos in to our existing GIS, just as we do with our normal mainline sewer camera. So it's exactly the same process.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Manager.
This is a smaller camera, but the same vendor. So is it going to require any additional training?
Yes, it will. We've demoed the unit, as I alluded to earlier, so we got a little bit of training, but yes, it will require some additional training for our sewer crew so that they know exactly what they're working with.
Is that included in the package of purchase?
It is. Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you, Mr. Schuler, for bringing this out. I'd like to echo Mayor Pro Tem Dean's comments that you are always in the department are always very prudent and very wise with the purchases that are thoroughly researched, and so I certainly appreciate that. More just like a broader comment about context. Just want to make sure that as and I think that the fact that you illustrated that this piece of equipment can pay and will pay for itself over time. By saving us some money elsewhere. I think that that's part of a larger conversation that I'm sure that administration, city manager is having generally about making sure that as we kind of go through what's going on right now and the impact that it may have on municipal finance and all the areas of that, that timeliness of purchases is certainly considered and potentially scaled back if need be. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, and I would like to point out something. When we have major construction projects, we are now requiring that sewer laterals be televised, both pre-construction and post-construction. So one other benefit of this new piece of equipment is that we will no longer need to have to contract that out at $200 per video, if you will, pre and post. And so there will be some cost savings in the long run with this new piece of equipment, because we'll be able to do that in-house as opposed to having to hire that out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Additional questions from council? Seeing nobody raising their hand, either virtually or in person, I think the points that were just brought up. What was that? Somebody, or was that just a noise? Okay. The points that were just brought up are going to be illustrated further, especially as we move into the budget season in earnest for council, at least in May, and start going through these budgets, is taking into consideration the world around us and what's happening, and being very strategic with how we budget, at least until we have a little more certainty as to what life is going to look like on the other side of this. And those conversations will certainly come up much more moving forward. But thank you, Derek, for being here tonight and explaining the utility of this, and it's something that obviously we plan for as part of the program as it is, and the additional capabilities that this will allow us to have. Okay. Seeing no additional comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M1420?
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, would you please read item number 6 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M1520, matter of authorizing Yad Ezra to conduct a curbside Passover food distribution event from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. April 5th, 2020, and from 2 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. April 6th, 2020.
Is there a motion to approve M1520?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Price. Mr. Baumgarten.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, Yad Ezra had to change their approach in light of the requirements for social distancing so their annual Passover event, Passover food distribution event, became a drive-through event, which is why it comes before you guys today as a community special event. It has been reviewed by Public Works and Public Safety, as well as myself. The document was very well put together and very thorough. Thankfully, to the credit to Yad Ezra and the help that they were able to receive in putting that together. It has been approved and is recommended for approval for council now, based on the review from the various departments.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've been working closely with them. We have gotten a COVID-19 safety precaution sheet from them detailing how they are going to handle the handoff of food from the workers to the cars. And they expect approximately 700 cars on Sunday and 300 cars on Monday. They will have workers in PPE and only 2 that will talk or get with the cars and provide the food. The food will be brought out to a staging area by the people in the warehouse and then transferred by people in full PPE over to the recipients, who will then drive off and exit the parking lot. The plan right now is to bring the cars up Kipling, across Columbia, south on Robina, into the parking lot, pick up the food, exit southbound on Robina, and make a right turn onto westbound 11 Mile and leave the area. So it should work smoothly. At least we're hoping so.
And this is something, Jack, we've been working with, and certainly I know public safety has been involved in as well, making sure that we have the correct route set up. Certainly the safety precautions as it relates to COVID-19, but also just being able to keep the flow of traffic and keep people moving.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. Additional comments from council members?
Do we have a representative from Yad Ezra joining us?
No, we do not.
Okay. I live along this route. I'm very glad to see how Yad Ezra is adapting to the current crisis and finding ways to support residents, their clients, and additional residents as well. And just wanted to say I'm very much in support of whatever we can do to help Yad Ezra continue to support our community. Thank you.
There is a plan also for the residents along that area to get a leaflet drop from Yad Ezra so they know exactly what's going on. So they won't be blindsided when this happens.
Good to know. Thank you for that.
Yeah, again, this is a situation where we have to adapt and trying to support, the community, but also taking the proper precautions. And we have had all of those discussions. And I think, I'm comfortable with the steps we've taken and the fact that we're going to be able to help facilitate to make this happen to continue as well. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll on M1520?
Gaffin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. We have now reached our second public comments portion for the evening. We are at the end of the agenda, so this is reserved for items that were not covered on tonight's agenda. The same rules as normal citizens' comments apply. State your name, city of residence, and if your concern needs to be addressed, we will make sure that you can hopefully send an email to make sure that we get back to you. Please either raise your hand via Zoom or raise your hand wherever you are.
Mayor Turbrack, we do have a comment or raised hand by Miss Wendy. So Wendy, I'm going to unmute you.
Okay.
Oh, God. Unmute yourself.
Okay. The question I have is, are there going to be other meetings, Planning Commission done this way, DDA done this way in the coming weeks until this is over with?
Thank you, Wendy, and I'll just jump out and give some additional context. So we wanted to try this first. I know we're not usually in a discussion, but because this is an important question, a question that council members have asked as well. We are running this first as a trial here, see how it goes. We have another meeting with council on Monday, but yes, the goal is to allow other groups to be able to meet virtually until we're able to get in the same room. Any other questions or comments? I'm looking. Tori, do we see anybody that I've missed?
I do not see any additional comments or questions or raised hands.
Okay, so seeing no additional comments, we'll move to the next item on our agenda. And again, this is a little different. We'll not be necessarily opening it up for general council communications, but I will make some communications right now before we adjourn our evening. First off, I want to thank the residents for attending, watching tonight, as we work out the most efficient method to meet moving forward. As we have more of these meetings, maybe be able to work some tweaks to keep the spirit of open communication and transparent decision-making evident for all as we deal with these essential items. The situation we currently find ourselves in is a little different than certainly anything I recall. Usually when crises happen, there's always been something to point to or to blame or to rally against. But now we find ourselves combating something that we can't see and we certainly can't easily detect. However, in this case, we have the ultimate control, even if that means short-term sacrifices. As I mentioned in my video last week, the city coordinates with the county, with the state, and the federal government. In fact, earlier today, our entire council and many members of the city staff were on a Zoom meeting similar to this with Congressman Andy Levin and our colleagues in his district. And this is the second time in 2 weeks we've been able to meet with Andy so that we could tell him exactly what we need and what we expect from our federal government. We discussed the CARES Act to help our residents who may experience loss of income, as well as touching on the Small Business Administration and the steps that they have taken to help support our businesses, which I know something we've already spoken with the Chamber and with Jennifer and the DDA as well. We've met with state and county officials on numerous occasions to ensure that we're all working together. Everyone in Berkeley, everybody in the county, and ultimately everyone in the state, and ideally everybody across the country, will be working to minimize the continued transmission of COVID-19. And as I said last week, we all need to do our part. This is not the time to kind of go against experts that specialize in this. And despite the media coverage it gets, I think it's important that we continue to listen to the folks who are instructing us. I think we've done a great job in the city of Berkley, and I want to thank all of our residents for their part and for continuing to do their part. But it's going to get even more difficult, especially when the spring arrives for good, and we need to continue to keep our distance, to stay at home, work from home, especially if you're considered non-essential, and to listen to the experts. It's incredibly unfortunate that our play structures are closed, but they have to remain that way. It is in the interest of everybody's safety to continue doing so. Our kids may not fully understand what they're dealing with. They might figure one ride down that slide can't hurt anything. And you know what? Maybe they're right, but maybe they're not. And that's how we need to approach things. We need to err on the side of caution and being conservative until we all get the all clear to have some parties in the streets when we can all go back down and see each other again. While we can't party quite yet, which is doubly unfortunate for anybody who may be celebrating a birthday during this time, we can spend quality time with our families. Try not to worry about cooking as much. Order some takeout from some of your local businesses to try to support them. And at the end of the day, look, we're still going to be a close-knit, tight-knit community that we've always been. Berkley is not going to change. We're always going to care. Staying home doesn't mean that you can't go outside at a safe distance. So go out on your porch every evening. Talk to your neighbors. Have a drink with them from a few feet away. Wave to the folks walking by. Make signs for your windows with messages to the folks that are out there, or maybe get into some conversations with your neighbors across the street. Keep making some signs, change them, ask them how they're doing. I know that there are some folks in the city that are taking porch pictures with families that are going to be up on the website. We need to continue to do these things to support each other and to continue to be the community that we are. We're not going to let COVID-19 define who we are in the city of Berkley. We're Berkley. We care. We've always been that way, and we're going to persevere through this together. With that, I want to thank everybody. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Support.
With support from Council Member Hennon. Ms. Mitchell, would you please call the roll?
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. The March 31st, 2020 meeting of the 38th Council is adjourned.